right?
We are talking Stay Out of the Fucking Attic, also known as Stay Out of the Attic. This one is directed by Aaran, and it's a pretty interesting kind of horror movie with a slasher-esque vibe, kind of haunted house sort of thing going on here. I don't want to give away spoilers and stuff. So what's the story? Well, we have this setup where there is a moving company, a kind of removals firm, that is staffed by ex-cons, and it's called Second Chance. You know, I should probably expect something like that. And they are hired to go to this old, dilapidated house, which there seems to be a single occupant of this older guy, and they are instructed to remove the, essentially, I think, second and third floors, something like that. But don't go into the basement or the attic. Fine, they agree to it. They think it's a bit of a big job, so they are kind of given extra money to see if they could do it within a kind of certain period of time. So they agree, and as they kind of start moving stuff around, they start to notice strange things within this house, artifacts that may be seen out of place that lead to the suspicion of maybe some sort of dark secret within this house, and maybe with the guy who owns it. And of course, this is a horror movie, so there absolutely is a dark secret, but what that secret is, you'll have to watch the movie to find out. So let's discuss, first of all, what I think worked in this movie. Okay, so it might be a minor thing, but I really liked having our characters kind of being ex-cons turned good. So it made for a kind of an interesting bunch of characters, and it's not you know, I think when you have movies that have ex-cons, they go back into the life. So I appreciated that all three of our ex-cons seem like they genuinely want to rehabilitate and want to kind of go on the street and get their lives back on track without any real temptation of or story elements that really try to coerce them back into that life. It was good to see characters like this literally want to go on the straight and narrow, and that is it. And I just thought it was a good message. And it actually has themes within the movie itself saying that people can change, obviously, with our kind of our trio of movers, but there's also the kind of the opposing view where some people are unwilling to change, which will kind of become apparent within the film. But I really like that thematic kind of thread through the movie. And these guys were, you know, they genuinely wanted to kind of do, you know, move on with their lives. I just liked it. And I actually enjoyed our characters. Initially I thought, well, maybe there's only 3 movies here. It seems maybe there'll be not enough kind of characters for, if we're going to have a horror movie, you know, to kind of, maybe you need a bigger amount of people to kill off, so to speak. But I have to say, having a smaller group of protagonists gave you the kind of the fleshing out of the characters that I think a movie like this kind of genuinely needs. And I enjoyed that we got enough backstory, I think, with each of the 3 characters where you really felt like they were coming from. And some of it's kind of peppered through, and it's not all kind of just dumped on you straight away. And all 3 of these kind of characters have reveals about them through the movie. You know, getting to know ultimately why they were maybe convicts in the first place. And I thought it was well done. For those of you who like extreme gore, there is some wince-inducing moments. I was actually surprised how far this movie went in actual fact. There is one scene in particular, again, I don't want to spoil it for you, that I thought that was going to pull away. And it didn't. It kind of shows you the whole thing. I was like, Christ, I'm so used to movies kind of pulling away these days. It actually surprised me when this one didn't, and you actually got to show a pretty gruesome scene that I think will make you go, ooh, ooh. And it legit made me feel a bit funny. I won't lie, I was like, oh God, that's kind of made me feel a little uncomfortable. But, you know, I applaud the movie for doing that, because I think so many movies these days tend to kind of like not want to do that. So that was pretty good. I think the effects work here is pretty impressive. We see lots of kind of prosthetics, and it kind of goes into the kind of the gore here. I think it's done to a pretty good standard, and I enjoyed the acting. I mean, it's not Oscar-worthy acting, don't get me wrong here, but I actually kind of bought into the characters. I thought they did a pretty good job of having believable characters. And I also like the way that our leader, if you like, runs his business. And one thing that always bothers me in films is where we have characters that are in a certain profession, yet they just arse around and don't seem professional. Normally it's like paranormal investigators and things like that. I just thought, they never seem to take their profession, or very rarely ever seem to be professional. And I always like it if you are portraying people in a profession on the screen when they act professionally, like in the job that they are supposed to be doing. It always bothers me when you see people in jobs in movies and they just arse around all the time. I like it when you see people who look like they have a good work ethic and they are taking their job seriously. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of banter and stuff like that, but I thought that was all quite good. As the movie goes on, and we have a number of reveals, and I thought they were pretty good. And you know, you not quite. I mean, you kind of get hints about where the movie's kind of going. I guess it's not a huge revelation when it's all kind of said and done, but nonetheless, I think it's a fairly interesting kind of plot in regards to threats, antagonists, that kind of thing. And I've got to say, I thought it had a reasonable conclusion, you know. So what doesn't work? I do feel there's some plot threads here that were introduced and then not was done with them. I don't want to go too much into them because I don't want to kind of spoil story points necessarily, but I will give you one. But there is a couple here that I thought, well, that doesn't really make a hell of a lot of sense. But just to give you one, so we have an antagonist, and he says he initially hired these people just to do the move. Fair enough, and they weren't. It wasn't an intention to kind of have them kind of be in a horror situation, but it ends up being like that. But then it kind of contradicts itself by saying that he kind of wanted a specific person within that group to be there for a specific reason. And again, it just kind of contradicts what he said. There was also a line where he says they've got to be out at a particular time because it doesn't really explain why that is. So there are a few things here that I felt like were introduced and then kind of things weren't really done with them, if that makes sense. I'm going to say this is going to be a very specific critique. If you are a conjoined twin, this movie might be a little bit disrespectful to you, I feel. It's kind of like, it treats it like there's a situation that may involve a conjoined twin, and it kind of, obviously it's genetic oddity, but it treats it like it's a monster, is the best way I would describe it. That's not the only thing that's going on here, just going to get me wrong, but there's plenty of other stuff. But I don't know, I thought that kind of, it's a bit like, I felt like if you feel like the movie The Elephant Man, and that, you know, was a monster, it's kind of like that. And I thought, well, that's kind of maybe a touch disrespectful, though, I got to say. You know, that's all I really, there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's all I really want to say in regard to the plot. As I said, I think the movie has a couple of reveals within the film against characters' kind of background or the true motivations and things like this, and it wasn't really a particularly shocking reveal to a certain degree. However, oh God, this is hard to kind of describe that spoiling stuff, but we have a reveal about an antagonist, shall we say, and yet this antagonist has some really clear things that will point out that there's a kind of a bit of a red flag. If ever there was to be a health inspection in this house or something like that, or there would have been a visit for some reason, there's a few red flags here that I thought, man, you're not really hiding this very well. To be honest, if someone were to come around your house unexpectedly for whatever reason, you know, someone needs to read the gas meter or something like that, or something, I don't know. It was just, To me, there were just some small elements of this film that weren't particularly kind of thought out, I didn't think. But overall, I've got to say, I thought this was an enjoyable film. I enjoyed the characters, which is a big thing for me. I like to have characters you can get behind. The effects were to a good standard. And the story, although it didn't blow my socks off, was enjoyable enough and had some pretty gruesome effects in it as well. So I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. I quite liked it. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. I don't know, actually, one last thing. The fact this movie has the word fucking in it, I don't really like that. I don't think it helps. I didn't really feel the movie was like really suited that title, to be honest with you. It just seemed like someone thought this was a good idea because it makes it hardcore, and to me it was unnecessary. Little bonus kind of critique there, but that doesn't affect the score necessarily. But yeah, it just seemed like gratuitous for no real reason because it doesn't really have any impact in a way. In actual fact, I think the whole title, even without that, is relatively generic. Not a fan of the title, but I enjoyed the film. 7 out of 10. Let's get back into it. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.